friends. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. Any requests? Anything you want to get into? Okay, yeah, chest and front shoulder area. Okay, anything else? All right, so for those joining at home, thank you. My name's Jenny. This is a Restore class. Grab any props that you may have, cushions, pillows, blankets. If you don't have blocks, books can work, or any other hard surface to bring the ground closer. All right, so let's start like we always do, a nice grounding meditation, settling in. I'll pop out and lock the door after a few moments. Hopefully that's not disturbing, and then get into our mindful movement and settle into our nice long Shavasana. So an invitation to get comfy, whether that's seated, using props for support, it could be lying down. If you're at home, you could be in a chair, on your couch. If it helps to connect with your external environment, maybe looking around at textures, colors, maybe anything new you can notice. And when you're ready to start to make the journey inward, if it helps to close the eyes, if that feels safe, or if not, just soften the gaze. And inviting yourself to land. Checking in with yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. And trying to not invite in any expectation or judgment or comparison, but that may naturally arise. So just being aware of when it does. And maybe inviting in a little compassion. And maybe even a little accountability. And as we continue to check in and settle in, notice if there's anything minor, anything small that maybe got stuck to you, or that you're carrying with you that maybe doesn't belong to you. And on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the heaviest burden that we're carrying with us, we're looking for about a 1 or a 2. Just something to lighten the load a little bit. Maybe it was witnessing an altercation or a little bit of road rage, a little annoyance that is still kind of festering, or anything from your day, your weekend, your week that just doesn't feel necessary to carry. And just see if we can let that go. Start small. And the more we can notice these little things that we unintentionally carry, or that stick to us without us even realizing, the more we can mindfully release those things that we don't need to carry with us. We have enough of our own baggage to carry around. We don't need to weigh it down with things that aren't worth our time, our energy, our worry. Or maybe it's just something that we don't need to focus on right now. Which is different than bypassing. I'm not asking you to ignore anything big in your life. Just seeing if you can lighten the load, even just a little bit. And as you continue to take stock, getting a nice baseline of where you're starting your practice from today, start to bring some awareness to your breath. And to help us to connect to the breath a little deeper, we'll play with a little pranayama, or breath work, with alternate nostril breathing. So this can be done by visualizing or by physically alternating the nostrils. So if you're visualizing, you're just going to imagine breathing in through one nostril, out through the other, in through the same nostril, and out through the other. If you want to actually practice with physically creating this in one nostril, out the other, you can bring the 2 peace fingers to your forehead, resting on your third eye. And then we'll use the thumb to plug up one nostril and the ring finger to plug up the other. So we'll inhale through the left, I'll explain it first, then I'll guide us through. So we'll inhale through the right, exhale through the left. Inhale through the left, exhale through the right. So we'll take it nice and slow. Exhale all the air out. And then plugging the left nostril, inhaling through the right. And you can pause and hold at the top for as long as breath retention feels good. And then plugging the right nostril and exhaling through the left. And then at the bottom, inhaling back through the left. Pausing at the top if you'd like, and exhaling through the right. Again, inhaling in through the right nostril, exhaling out of the left. Inhaling through the left, and exhaling out of the right. Again, if physically closing the nostrils just doesn't serve you in this moment, you can simply visualize the practice as you breathe. Try this out for a few rounds. As you feel ready, wrapping up your pranayama and dropping the breathing practice and just returning to a natural breath when you feel ready. And just simply observing. And with no expectations, nothing is supposed to happen, but nothing is not supposed to happen. And as we move through our physical practice, I'll be bringing us back to our connection to the breath You could connect through observation, through lengthening, through deepening, through turning up the volume on the breath, activating the muscles in the back of the throat for Ujjayi breathing. And continuing to connect to the breath, feel down into your connection to earth. Feel the parts of the body that are touching the earth. Maybe it's through the legs, the feet, the sits bones. If you're lying down, feeling the support in the length of the spine and the back of the head and shoulders. Feeling a connection to earth, a sense of stability, of grounding, foundation. And with this foundation, finding some lengthening through the spine. So if you're seated, lengthening the crown of the head up towards the sky. And allowing a sense of openness, of expansion, of space, as much as feels safe, while still having that connection to earth, to stability, to grounding. Working with this duality of rooting down to rise up. Of connecting to support, to safely open. Maybe even your own relationship to heaven and earth, or to the universe and this planet. And if you're lying down, gently making your way up to a seat, finding that length in the spine. And when you're ready, we'll release the arms alongside the body. And we'll start to reach the arms out and up. And just raise them up as high as feels okay. And then release them down. And we'll do that again, maybe linking the breath, inhaling to reach the arms out and up. And exhaling to release down, moving nice and slow. And inhale, reach out and up. And exhale, release down. And then inhale, raising the hands halfway up so they're parallel to the earth. Flipping the palms up. And then inhale, send the thumbs back, open through the chest, gaze could lift, shoulder blades draw together. And exhale, bring the hands forward, rounding out through the spine, tucking in through the chin. And then inhale to open through the hands, lengthen through the spine. Chest comes forward, gaze could lift, maybe thinking cat-cow at the spine. And exhale, bring the hands forward, round out, tuck in through the chin. A few more rounds here. And if it speaks to you, maybe with these open palms, If you are in a receiving mode, maybe calling in whatever it is that you're needing support, being open to receive the gifts of abundance, the gift of clarity, anything else that would serve you. Or perhaps if you're in more of a giving state of mind, what are you wanting to offer to yourself, to your community, to the global collective, to your family, to your friends, to your partner? Beautiful work. As you feel ready, we'll come back to a neutral spine and release the arms down. If the legs are crossed, go ahead and uncross through the legs. Planting the feet with the knees bent, feet a little bit wider than hip distance. We'll take that similar spinal flexion with a seated cat-cow. So you can hold on to the knees if you'd like. Inhaling to lengthen, draw the chest forward. Gaze could lift as shoulder blades pinch together, and then exhale, rounding out, tucking in through the chin. Awesome work. Maybe noticing you might have a little larger range of motion here than we did when we were moving with the arms. We're taking this nice and slow so we can feel the sensations. We can feel the movement in the body. And we can find what feels good. If it's what you're looking for in the moment, maybe finding something that feels a little challenging. Awesome work. When you're ready, we'll come back to a neutral spine, make our way into a tabletop. So nice and slow, coming into hands and knees. You could double up on the mat or kneel on a blanket if a little support for the knees would be nice here. Awesome work. Then from our tabletop, we're going to walk the knees out wide. We'll bring the big toes to touch, and we'll start to walk the hands forward. As we lower the chest and head down towards the ground, your choice of hips stay raised, or if you want to lower the hips down. So we're coming into a wide leg child's pose or puppy pose. And then with the arms extended, spreading out through the hands, we'll tent through the hands. So lifting up through the palms, coming up onto the fingertips. So creating a little more space between our torso and the ground. And then here, finding those cat-cow movements. So we will be extremely limited in our range of motion. But just leading with the heart, letting the heart drop down towards the earth as the gaze lifts, staying in tune with the neck. And then letting the back of the heart lift up towards the sky as we tuck in through the chin. So, like I said, we'll have a much smaller range of motion here, but we can really get into the neck, the shoulders, the upper back. If this is feeling good, you're welcome to stay here, or we'll explore another shape in the body by starting to lower the elbows down towards the ground. And then if the hips were synced back, lifting them up. And you can leave the knees wide, or if it feels more supportive, to bring them underneath the hips. And then from this forearm tabletop, maybe the arms come a little wider to create more space. And then again, we'll find our cat-cow movements. So I might have a little larger range of motion here. So maybe getting into different areas, noticing where you feel sensation, staying in tune with the neck, with the shoulders, with the back, with the chest. Awesome work. Again, you could stay here, or if you'd like to explore a fuller range of motion, lifting up through the elbows, coming up to tabletop, and finding cat-cow, dropping the chest down and the belly can follow, and rounding out as we press the ground away. Taking this to whatever depth feels best. Doesn't have to be full capacity. And again, noticing with this larger range of motion, we can get into different areas. Fantastic work. As you feel ready, we'll come back to our tabletop, and then we'll make our way onto our bellies. So you can walk the knees back, you can walk the hands forward, you can remove any props, if there's a blanket or anything in your way, and coming down onto the belly. And we'll take a shoulder pigeon here. So we're gonna extend the right arm out, palm facing down, and then turning the gaze over towards the left. You could release the head down towards the earth and stay here if this is enough sensation for you in the chest and in the shoulder. If it's okay on the shoulder to put a little more weight, you can start to press into the left hand to roll onto the right side of the body. Staying in tune with how this feels, the legs could be extended and stacked. You could draw the knees in towards the chest. You could also kind of make almost like a reclined tree pose by bending the left knee and taking it up towards the sky and planting the left foot either in front or behind the right leg. That'll also bring in a little activity in the spine, a little bit of twisting. So stay in tune, making sure it's not feeling tweaky or crunchy in the low back or in the hips. The left hand could stay on the ground for support, continuing to check in with the right shoulder. If it feels okay to maybe put a little more weight on it, you could even extend the left arm up and back. It could rest at the low back. It could reach towards the right hand. That will add more intensity. So take it nice and slow. Explore, find what works for you here. Knowing that we always have the option to take it deeper or to back off. We don't always have to give it our all. We don't always have to push ourselves. Because on the flip side of that, if we're constantly giving all we've got, pretty soon we'll have nothing left to give. Notice if maybe your mindset is that you want to get the most out of the pose. You want to push yourself to the limit. And while that's not inherently bad, maybe get curious about where that messaging came from. if that applies to just your yoga practice or if that's the way you view life. Maybe you've always just thought of that as your own characteristic, a little personality trait. But when we really dive deeper, we are conditioned from young ages to push ourselves, to focus on performance, to strive for perfection. And while it's not inherently wrong to want to excel at something, it creates this sense that we have to constantly push and push and push. And sometimes that'll push us too far. So maybe practicing discernment of when you want to push yourself further, what would it feel like to back off, to give less, to do less? And as you feel ready, nice and slow, bringing the left hand back to the ground for support, and then slowly starting to roll back onto the belly. If there's any movements here you'd like to take, listen to the body. My arms want to reach overhead. I want to release my head down, maybe find some movement through the neck. But anything that would feel good here between sides. And then whenever you're ready, setting up our shoulder pigeon on the other side, extending the left arm out, palm towards the earth, turning the gaze over towards the right, letting the head drop down. If it doesn't find the ground, then you can fill in the space with a pillow or a blanket. And again, you could stay here if this is enough sensation for you, or you could press into the right hand, rolling onto the left side body. Checking in with the left shoulder, with the chest. Positioning the legs in whatever way feels best for you. Again, legs could be stacked and extended. Knees could draw in towards the chest. You could stagger the legs or take kind of that reclined tree on the side with the right knee bent, knee up towards the sky. Foot either in front or behind the left leg. And again, if it feels okay to put a little more weight on that left shoulder, you could bring in the right arm to reach back, to rest at the low back. Finding a connection to your breath, tuning into the body, getting curious about the thoughts that arise, the impulses, the judgments, the expectations. few more rounds of breath on this side. Whenever you feel ready, replanting the right hand if it traveled away for support. Slowly allowing yourself to roll back onto the belly. Taking any movements here that would feel good. When you're ready, we'll plant the hands and press back up to our tabletop. And kneeling on a blanket if you'd like, we're going to set up a rabbit pose. And then we're going to take a variation with the arms. So again, coming into the knees. We're going to send the hips back and come down towards a child's pose. But instead of having the arms extended, we're going to bring the arms back behind us. And we're going to start by reaching or grabbing for the feet or ankles. If the hands don't reach, that's totally fine. And we're going to tuck the chin in towards the chest so that we can plant the top of the head on the earth. And then from here, we'll start to lift the hips, keeping the hands either energetically reaching for the feet or connected to the feet. Finding some stretching in the back of the neck and the shoulder blades, and noticing where else you feel this. And just a few more rounds of breath here. Won't be here for long. And when you feel ready, releasing the hips back down, releasing the hands, untucking through the chin, and just letting the forehead find the ground. And then switching up the arms a bit, we'll bring the hands to the low back. Maybe they energetically reach, or maybe they're able to interlace. And then check in with the shoulders. Gravity is going to bring them forward, but we want to start to find an opening. So drawing the shoulders back, shoulder blades draw together. And then again, we're going to lift through the hips. Let's tuck in through the chin first, and then lift in the hips. And then maybe here the arms start to raise up towards the sky. Maybe they start to come overhead. So getting even more into the shoulders, into the chest. Noticing how this is feeling in the head and in the neck. If you need to untuck through the chin, or if you need to shift more weight back so you're not putting so much weight on the head and neck, feel free to adjust. And knowing that we're never locked into a shape, and you never have to get into any shape that I suggest. These are simply options. And if they don't feel right or don't fit for you and your practice, invite yourself to explore what feels good, to explore what will serve you here. And as you feel ready, if the hands were raised, lowering them down to the low back, and then lowering the hips down. And then you can release the hands, or you could keep the hands as they are as we start to raise the upper body up. You can release the hands for support, but if you do, then bring the hands back behind the back. And maybe they interlace. Rolling the shoulders back and down, finding an opening in the chest, rooting the hands down. So kind of a counter stretch, getting a little blood flow back to the brain. Gaze could even lift, opening through the chest. Maybe imagine pinching a pencil between the shoulder blades as they draw together. Awesome work. As you feel ready, releasing the hands, maybe shaking them out. And we'll come into a seated position, taking your time, getting off the knees. And we did a lot with bent knees, so maybe shake them out. Maybe shake out through the legs or point and flex through the toes. Awesome work. And we're gonna set up a supported heart opener. One of my favorites. We're gonna grab our bolster, send it lengthwise behind us. And for folks at home, if you don't have a bolster, you can roll up a blanket. You can just find anything that's gonna bring support for the low back, or for the spine, not the whole back, not the low back. You could also create a little lounge chair by sliding the block underneath. That's gonna decrease any compression in the low back. But choosing if you want to lie flat or in a little lounge chair. And then we'll start to lay back using the support along the whole length of the spine. And noticing if the booty's on the ground, there's gonna be some arching in the low back if that doesn't feel good. And you could slide a blanket or pillows or cushions or anything underneath the booty, a block if you have it, to neutralize through the spine. So you don't have to bring in a back bend, but we're looking to get this lift in the back of the heart so we can drop the shoulders back and down, really opening through the chest. Arms could extend out into a T or into goalposts, opening up as much as feels safe. Legs can be doing whatever they'd like. They could extend out, knees could be bent. You could take it into a hip opener by bringing the bottoms of the feet to touch and letting the knees drop open. For some, this may feel fantastic. For others, this may feel vulnerable, may feel exposed. And if it ever starts to feel triggering or like you just need a little more containment, you're welcome to bring the arms to the body, resting on the belly, one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. You can even cross the arms, grabbing opposite elbows, biceps, or shoulders. If that helps to soothe the nervous system, to help you feel a little more safe. But one way that we can really utilize our mindful practices is practice being uncomfortable. Whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally. As long as we're not doing anything that's going to cause pain or injury, mentally, emotionally, or energetically, or physically, we can allow ourselves to practice being uncomfortable. Because that's part of this work that we're doing. When we turn our awareness inward, when we really try to get to know ourselves, when we start to dive deep into who we are and why we are the way we are, it can get really uncomfortable. So we can use this time to practice. And we'll take a few more rounds of breath here. And as you feel ready to come out, your choice, if you want to just roll onto one side and gently press yourself up. You could also bring the hands to the back of the head to support the neck and engage in the core for a little sit-up. Making your way up to seated. If there's any movements here in a neutral spine that would feel good, feel free to take that. And then we're going to counter this with a nice forward fold. So this could be super gentle with the knees bent, bringing the chest towards the thighs. You could have the legs extended. You could open them up. You could come into cobbler's pose, however you want to orient the legs. And if you have tight hips or hamstrings, maybe a little lift in the booty to help you find that hinge in the hips and get past that fulcrum point. And just coming to whatever depth feels good here. Knowing that we'll be here for several rounds of breath, so gravity will do its job and will invite us deeper. But if accepting that invitation to go deeper doesn't feel like it would serve you or that would take you too far, you can bring in props to hold yourself in a shape. You can bring in something to support the head, to support underneath the knees, or any other way that you feel like you could be supported here. But seeing if you can soften, if you can release any tension in the face, the neck, the jaw, the tongue, around the eyes. You can soften in the neck, the shoulders, along the spine. Soften into the low back, the hips, the hamstrings. Again, notice the thoughts that arise. compassionate if any judgments, criticisms, or comparisons arise. Again, perhaps getting curious about the inner dialogue, especially the stories that we repeat to ourselves. And perhaps even looking through the lens of, is this a personality trait? Or is this the product of deep social conditioning from a young age? That continues to send me the message to disconnect from my feelings, from my body, from my power, in efforts to control me. I understand that can be a pretty heavy inquiry. A few more rounds of breath here. And as you feel ready, well, nice and slow, start to make our way back up and out of our forward fold. And we're going to revisit our supported heart opener. You can do it just like we did the last time with our bolster lengthwise. Or if you want maybe a little more intensity, we could come into a supported fish pose. So you would turn your support so that it's not the full length of the spine, it would just hit at the back of the heart. And then as you lie back, this will create more arching. But there's space for the shoulders to drop back, and then maybe the head releases down, opening up through the throat. You can still spread out through the arms, but this, again, could be intense. So you could always bring in some support behind the head. You could always decrease the arch in the back by patting underneath the booty. Or you could come back into the reclined position with the support all along the length of the spine. Again, legs can be doing whatever shape you'd like. Arms could be inviting in more openness. Or arms could be inviting a little more containment, a little more grounding by connecting to the body. And we won't be here as long as the first round, but maybe see if there's somewhere here you can soften. If you notice any resistance in the body, in the mind, in the heart, in the belly, or anywhere else, see if you can soften that resistance. And if you're wanting to stay here, you are more than welcome to. Or if you'd like, we've done a lot of spinal flexion, arching and rounding, so let's just find a little side bend. So you're welcome to come up and out of the pose first, or you could just roll onto the right side. So we still have the support underneath the ribs, giving us a lift in the side of the heart. And you could release the head down towards the ground, towards a block, or you could extend the right arm and rest the head on the bicep. Our legs can be doing whatever feels good here. And if you want to elongate a little more in the side, maybe the left arm reaches overhead. And if you'd like to maybe get a little more into the chest and the shoulder, you could kind of take a similar movement with the left arm as we did in our shoulder pigeon, bringing the arm up towards the sky. Maybe it rests at the low back or reaches behind. Just an option. And whenever you feel ready, we'll just switch it out to the other side. So however you'd like to transition, again, you can press up to seated and make the adjustment. You can roll onto the back or onto the belly and shift to the other side. So we've got this cushioned support hitting our side body, lifting the side of the heart up. Again, you could extend the left arm and rest the head on the bicep. You could extend the right arm overhead, or it could reach back behind you. Legs could be in any shape that feels good here. whenever you start to feel complete here, no rush. Gently making your way up and out of the pose in any way that you'd like, staying mindful as you transition. And taking any final movements from a seated position that would feel good. When you're ready, making your way onto your backs. And if you are ready for an extra long Shavasana, you can head straight to that. But if there's any final movements you want to take either seated or lying down, we've got plenty of time. So take as much of it as you'd like to tune into the body, to strengthen that relationship to our introception, the messages that the body sends us. You know, we connect to it every day when the body tells us we're hungry or need to use the restroom. But our bodies are always telling us what they need to function at 100%. So if we can learn to tune into the body, to respond to their requests, we strengthen that connection. We also don't put ourselves in a position where the body starts to yell its requests. It does not feel good when the body yells at you. So tuning in. Wrapping up your physical practice in whatever way serves you today. And eventually finding a position of surrender, whatever that looks like. Whether that's lying down, using props to support you, could be on your back, on your side, on your belly. You can also come into a seated meditation, or for those at home, sitting on a couch or a chair. Find a position for the body where it feels supported and where you could surrender the body, the breath. And as we settle in, maybe checking in one last time to maybe see if there's another little sticky energy that we can release. An energetic tie that doesn't need to be tied. An attachment that we can maybe just loosen the grip a little bit, or maybe start to let it go. And using these last few moments of class to let yourself get back to your natural state. To get back to being a human being. That in this moment, there's nowhere to go, nothing to do. This is exactly where you're meant to be. that right now there's nothing left to do. You've done the work. You've put in the effort. You've invested the energy. Let it go to work for you while you let yourself just be. last moment to simply check in. Just observe any effects of your mindful practice without judgment, without comparison. Honoring your journey. And as you feel ready, gently inviting some movement into the body, maybe a deepening of the breath. And if you're lying down, when you feel ready, allowing yourself to roll onto one side of the body. Find yourself just taking a little moment to offer yourself some gratitude for your willingness to step on your mat, to tend to the mind, the body, the self, and to do the work. And when you feel ready, if not already there, gently making your way back up to a comfortable seat. I'll invite you to take any meaningful gesture with the hands if you'd like to symbolize the ending of your practice. I'd like to offer my gratitude to you for showing up, for sharing your practice and your presence with me, and for your trust and allowing me to share the magic of yoga with you. Hope this helps you to have a fantastic rest of your Sunday and a beautiful week ahead. I see you, I honor you, I bow to you. Namaste. Thank you, friends. Yeah, again, let me know if you ever have any questions or just want to chat. Here for you. And thank you for those at home who joined us. I have left a link, or I've left my Venmo in the description. We do rely on donations to keep these classes going. So thank you so much. Have a fantastic rest of your day. We'll see you next time.